Saturday. Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans. They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Mavericks Group Therapy. My name is Kirk Henderson. I'm editor-in-chief over at MavsMoneyball.com. I am sorry for the delay after the show that Matthew and I just recorded. Thought I was going to be able to come right back, but between a pet emergency and baby needing attention, there was a little too much going on at one time, and it took me longer than I thought to move everything and get everything set up. So I apologize for the late start, but I'm a little jazzed after that game. For those of you who are listening later, the Dallas Mavericks went on a 30-0 run against the Oklahoma City Thunder to make what felt like a blowout game come down to the wire, where the Mavericks fell 126-120. It was a pretty I don't know. I don't feel deflated. I think if I was in the arena, I would have walked out being really surprised because the Mavericks were missing, Maxi Kleber, who's out with his dislocated toe, Kyrie Irving with his, his kind of ongoing foot challenges, and that's just going to be a thing. Tim Hardaway Jr. with whatever was up with him. I don't remember at this time. Josh Green had a hyper-extended elbow and then, or maybe even a sprained elbow. Sorry if I got that wrong. And then Dante Exum had a personal day because he also had a child. So the Mavericks were down essentially 5 guys that get regular minutes for them when everything is all in right. And they're playing an Oklahoma City Thunder team that rolls in with a 12-6 record, having probably one of the more difficult schedules in the league with a, in my opinion, MVP caliber player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I wouldn't have been shocked if a lot of people decided to kind of take this game off and chalk it up to a loss because the Thunder are on paper with those 5 Mavericks missing, just the significantly better team. And for most of the game, that was more or less what played out with the Thunder trapping Luka Doncic sort of mercilessly and the Mavericks getting a fair share of open looks. But the team, when you're missing all your good shooters, it's, thank goodness for Derek Jones Jr., who went nuts. I think he hit 6 of 12 for 3. 12 threes is the most he's ever attempted in a game by 3 shots. He took 9 in a game earlier this year, 9 3-pointers, and then he did that back in 2020 as well. So to shoot 33% more threes than you've ever taken in a game, and he was, the Thunder's, I think the Thunder were pretty happy to give him those sorts of shots, but he really helped keep Dallas kind of, I don't want to say within striking distance, because at certain points of this game, they were down by 20 points. But, the Mavericks just they just kept playing. They kept playing. The fourth quarter starts, and they're playing a hyper small lineup. And it's one of these things that I don't know what Jason Kidd was really thinking or hoping. If anything, he was at best, I think, hoping to roll out just to see if something could get going. I mean, they, at a certain point, you wonder if they were going to pull Luka off the floor, but the simple fact was they didn't really have enough guys to play the game. Jaden Hardy was the closest thing to a backup guard that they had, and he's just not really it this season. And they went, hyper small. They had AJ Lawson out there, who's more or less a G League player. He played I think he played the entire run, which was pretty ridiculous in that fourth quarter. And the Mavericks just sort of wanted to see what they could do. And I still don't really know how that happened. I mean, the Chuck Cooperstein is been arguing with me on Twitter, the Mavs radio announcer, about timeouts, because I am often very critical of Jason Kidd's sort of inability to use any of the tools at his disposal. And he just told me that, Mark Daigneault called 4 timeouts and sometimes it just doesn't work. That's true, but you can't really disprove a negative in the sense of I would like Jason Kidd to call timeouts. Still, because that's a tool at his disposal. And when he sits there wearing wearing glasses and just kind of rubbing his face, they had 2 sideline shots of him rubbing his eyes. And I'm just like, I get it. But it's like, you're a politician on the trail. You cannot do stuff like that when you're getting waxed. It just doesn't give me hope. Okay. I got my friend Brandon waiting down there. Brandon, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, Kirk? You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. A little tired. I mean, that game jazzed me up, but I don't know, had some Nashville hot chicken during the game. I think that I'm going to pay for that a little later.
Yeah.
But other than that, everything's okay.
Man, it felt like a victory and a loss. I mean, it felt like a victory. It was a small victory because guys stepped up. So, I mean, I can't complain about that. Plus 30-0 run. I mean, who would think you would get that out of a bunch of...
we're never, like, statistically speaking, we will never see that ever again.
Yeah.
Like, that was one of the most, I was kind of here. I realized I forgot to set up all my YouTube stuff. So I went upstairs and started messing with that. And I'm like, well, the Mavs are going to die. And I'm going to have to be like, hey, the Mavericks got blown out for the 5th time in 7 games. What do we make of this? And it was just sort of a thing. And, it was pretty wild to watch that happen. There's a lot of, like, I guess it feels like a win in the fact that they didn't die, but the fact is, like, how about you just don't get, not to be a shit stirrer, because if you're happy, I want you to be happy, but, like, could we play some defense one day?
One day. You know what? And man, Kirk, you stole my thunder. Think about this. I mean, Oklahoma City just got to the goal however they wanted. But, I mean, it's the way that they did it. I mean, I'm not a super technical basketball guy, but I can tell when a defender's on a guy's hip and he's just constantly driving, and it happens all 4 quarters, that kind of goes back to, Oklahoma City just using just super fundamentals. And, I mean, the person I think about that just, like, is super at keeping people on their hip is, like, Damian Lillard. He dribbles, kind of sideways, and he gets the defenders on his hips. And, once they're kind of locked in, he can do what he wants. And it just seems like Oklahoma City just kind of stole a page out of his book. And every time.
Oh, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I like that Dame comp because I get furious at Dame calls because I think he gets fouled all the time. Only because he's 180 pounds, I think he gets the benefit of the doubt more than just about everybody else. Yeah. Shea is the same way. Shea's ability to use, like, herky-jerky and pace and just sort of, like, man, how many guys did he get off their feet on, like, 2nd and 3rd and 4th pump fakes that he would then draw a foul? It's like, you can't even be mad watching it because it's not grifting. It's not like locking dudes' arms in and stuff. It's just how you're taught to play basketball, only executed in a way that's nearly perfect, and nobody plays it like that anymore.
I kind of wonder, it seemed like, I don't know if Kid went into panic mode, but it kind of seems like he was, he pressed the emergency button because think about this. They ended up going to zone. They couldn't trap. They couldn't play man, and they ended up going to zone. And that's kind of when they, went on their little run. So, the few timeouts that he did take, I kind of wondered what the conversation was because
at a certain point, it's like, guys, you got to hit open shots. The Mavericks are giving you shots. You need to take them and you need to hit them. And they were blitzing so weirdly, and it was such a weird lineup that I think no one really knew where it was coming. Like when Luka Doncic is challenging you hard at the 3-point line, that's got to be really fucking confusing. Pardon my language, because it's just like he doesn't do that, and he's like scrambling and hands all like akimbo. It's like, what is going on? And so what I was surprised that Oklahoma was doing was they kept sending that double at Luka because Luka was just destroying it. And I mean, to be clear, Luka was making the right read, and then his teammates, nearly all of them did the right thing the whole time. That was pretty incredible. We never see that.
And plus, the trust that he had in a bunch of young guys to pass the ball, because I feel like Luka is confident enough to, He feels like he could cook and just, burn those two dudes. But, they're picking him up right after half court, and Luka's being mindful and just like dishing out to guys on the three, and they're hitting their shots, getting dunked, stuff like that. They weren't the best shots, and in the first half they were missing a bunch. But when they kind of found their groove, it kind of paid off. Him sticking to the young guys and letting them cook. But I kind of wonder if him not playing Powell was a message like, hey, you got the contract, but you're getting sat for a bunch of G League guys.
He also can't do anything, though. It's not really his fault. He just doesn't really do anything against those sorts of lineups. And I did like the fact that they played with sort of like a reckless energy in that fourth quarter. But that the as much as I enjoyed it, and I did enjoy it, I don't know what you take away from it, because I don't think you can't play zone against NBA teams. You just can't because it's like they're too good. You can annoy teams with it for a section, and you can kind of confuse them, but the best teams figure it out.
God, it feels like it was basketball 101, the way they just schooled Dallas all night on offense. It's like the stuff that they're NBA players, so they definitely know how to play defense. But the way that Oklahoma City just kind of just ripped through every type of defense was just kind of like if I was a coach and I wanted my kids to learn fundamentals of offense, I would tell them to watch Oklahoma City.
How many open threes? Like, they were just shooting open threes all night long. Hold on. Keep talking. My dog has rang her doorbell like 4 times.
But the thing to me is how they just kind of just went down the paint and just constantly just got rebounds, putbacks. It was offensive putback. It was tip backs. It was everything you could think about that could go on in the paint went on in the paint. Mm-hmm. But the main thing that caught my attention is between Oklahoma City and Dallas is Oklahoma City, when they got the ball never moved. It was always on the floor. It was always moving until a shot was taken. When Dallas got the ball, it was either some type of hesitation to a three, or it seemed like it was a shot that they had to force.
Yeah.
The ball flow for Oklahoma City was just amazing.
They're good. They have so much better talent top to bottom, and talent that connects in a way that's really interesting. You get a guy like Lou Dort, who is, I'm pretty sure he was undrafted, but Lou Dort's the kind of guy you got to get, lucky. Yeah, you kind of got to get lucky with in a team build, because he makes a lot of things work that otherwise, like some of the drafted guys don't bring to the table. But you just watch the way their team's built, and it's just so easy to be jealous of them, because I don't know. They've played kind of below. They shouldn't have finished as low as they did last year. I think they missed the playoffs too, but they weren't. They're really they're going to be really annoying to have to play the next several years. They're just so good at this.
I thought Sacramento was going to be that annoying team, but it seems like Oklahoma City is going to be kind of that annoying team, because their height and their talent, and plus, Shea Alexander-Gilchrist is, kind of turning into like a person to be reckoned with. It seems like these other teams don't have what they have, their chemistry and willing to buy into, playing in the small market and, overcoming these odds. It don't seem like other teams in the West have that type of talent. The West is definitely deep and definitely talented, like Sacramento and some more teams, but Oklahoma City are kind of different. With that height and that athleticism, it's going to be something to worry about.
I really like their team. They're going to be the team that because every team on kind of their path towards being a contender, there's like a certain point in time where they become sort of the villain. I don't know. I don't see that coming for Oklahoma anytime soon, because they're just really fun. Like, they're just, and you mentioned it. They play the game in a way that, the old school right way. They do a lot of stuff really well, and they're led by a guy in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander who is as much, and I love Luka. Luka's one of my 3 favorite players that I've ever seen, but he gets foul calls because he doesn't complain. One of the things that was talked about, and I'm going to bring up my friend Matt next, but one of the things that I thought was talked about tonight in the other chat during the post-game show was this kind of felt like one of the more adult games Luka's ever had. And the fact that it coincided with the fact that he's a new dad now is like very, very funny. Of course, but it was one of the first times. Granted, he still bitched the refs like 3 or 4 times, like relentlessly. But there wasn't, there's like getting back in transition and like just kind of doing the things that he needed to do to be an effective basketball player. And it was really fun to watch that. To watch him actually do that for real. And like, if you get a Luka that's that kind of locked in, he's not going to play 46 minutes. But if you can get 36 minutes out of Luka, that kind of locked in, that is a potential MVP player. I don't think he's played like an MVP to date. I think the numbers are there, but I don't think he's played like an like he's just. You watch what Jokic does. You watch what Giannis does. You watch what, to a certain degree, maybe like Booker and Tatum, and like night in, night out, it's just different. And so I like tonight was one of the first times in probably since that 7-game win streak last year before the Mavericks died, where I really was like, Luka's that dude, and it was nice to see.
Yeah, and you know what? Those free throws came at. I know in the third, they at that time they had missed like 12, but man, that's the testimony. You got to hit your free throws.
Oh yeah, they did. They were 23 for 35, just some real rough goes. But then again, they also shot 35 free throws, which feels a bit like a gift.
God, did you hear what he said? Cooper Senior said. I think he said that Luka's like 4th all time for most free throws made, if I'm not mistaken.
For who? For which team?
I could be wrong, but it sounds like right now he's 4th all time for free throws made.
For the Mavericks?
I think I could be wrong. It sounds like he said in the NBA.
That's a good question. No.
So.
He's only like this season, maybe he's up there shooting a lot, but even then he's not done that well. So,
okay.
Well, hey, man, thank you for hanging out. You got anything else for us?
No, that's it, Kirk. Thank you, man.
All right, we'll talk soon. All right, we got a couple people I want to shout out in the chat. We got my friend Kevin Gray. You guys should know him. He is up on the local Dallas station here. I think he does the pre and post game show for them over there. Kevin, what is going on? We got my friend what's TGK Mr. Garcia. Thank you so much for joining the show. Good to hang out here tonight. All right, I'm going to bring up my friend Matt. You guys know him from the Action Network, and a lot of you like to yell at him.
Hey man,
what's going on?
How's it going?
It's fine. Tired. Actually, not that. I mean, I was really tired, and then I had to wrestle a dog into a bath. That was what I did.
Your dog has a doorbell?
Yeah, well, to let it go outside. Yeah, otherwise, well, I mean, she doesn't do anything else right, but she can ring that door. And when it's where the hell is she? Oh well,
that makes her better. That makes her better than Jason Kidd and after timeout plays.
Yeah, I mean, that play was an incredible steal.
It was.
Like, I went and watched that. Like
you missed it because you were on shows. So SGA said typically in the NBA with that inbound, you come up and you get a down screen, someone pops up. It's like a script. Like they just run it. You can tell if they're lackadaisical with it. And if they were, I was going to get a steal. And I'm like,
do you remember the Draymond Green call? Yeah. So for those of you who may not know this, against the Bucks, I want to say it was year 2 or year 3 of Jason Kidd's tenure when things really started to get dark there. The Bucks lost a game to the Warriors where I'm gonna go find this. I'm gonna fucking write about this after the game. Where God damn it, Draymond Green essentially said, like, they run 2 plays, we know what they are.
Yeah.
Like just murdering Jason Kidd on live television. It's really something.
I have a thing for you. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think that tonight was probably like a growth game, if nothing else, for like Lively had a good, like, you got killed on defense, but you did okay in Lively's minutes, and that's been the case this season. So like you have the big and you have the second ball handler next to Luka. So like I don't know how you do it because you have to manage the money and you have to manage the assets, but like you need to go find the wing, right? Like I don't think OG is gettable because it's Toronto and it's Toronto.
They don't trade. They have to win the trade, and that means they won't do the trade.
Maybe it's Caruso. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just you get another guard and you just play like Luka, defensive guard, Kyrie, wing, Lively. Maybe that's it. But like all you really need, I think, is one impact defender.
I mean, one of the things I'm a little challenged by. So it's like 2 things. There's 2 things that have happened this year. So Josh Bowe often says, if you're a non-shooting or like a poorly shooting wing, you need to like demand to play with Luka because he will raise your statistical profile. Like Derrick Jones Jr., Derrick Jones Jr. being a viable player on a minimum contract is a riot. That guy hasn't been able to play anywhere. He's got all of like this interesting talent. So the Mavericks are making him work. And that's been interesting. But then on the flip side, they brought in Grant Williams, and he was kind of their marquee signing. They sent that unprotected pick swap in 2030 to the Spurs, which is a secret specter that just hangs out in the back of my head where I will be 47 and that will kill me. Like that's what will give me the heart attack is when the Spurs get the Mavericks the first time they win the NBA lottery and it's the number 1 overall pick in 2030. And Grant has been up and down in a really uncomfortable way where he's been like wildly important. And then he was so bad tonight. Like, did you look at anything he did? Like what, like 5 points and 1 rebound? Like what would you say you do here, Bob? Yeah. Like it's like Grant Williams is the guy who takes the specs to the customer. Like he doesn't do, like he's not done anything. Like he talks a big game and he kind of pisses me off. Like I bet he'll wear a Batman suit in soon. I need a little more from these guys that they bring in to do stuff. And that's where it's like, you and I've talked about this on and off for years. The Lively thing makes it very clear that they should have brought in a actual finishing big like a John Collins years ago.
Yeah.
But the wing part, I don't necessarily know if I can be too mad about it because it's not like that's the position. That is the position. And it's really hard to find.
Yeah, it's tough. I agree. I do think though that they're in a unique position where a lot of these teams I think have to weigh like how much do you give up?
Yeah.
Right. Like they have to be like, well, like Memphis last year, we had to be like, well, we're going to have to pay Desmond and Jaren and Ja. Like we can't afford to bring in OG on top of that if it's going to cost us 4 draft picks, like then we won't have anything, which maybe they should have done because maybe they would be a dumpster fire this year. And then like New Orleans, similar kind of deal where it's like they have Zion and they're going to want to keep BI, even though I don't think they should. And they have Herb Jones, who they just extended, and they're going to have to extend Trey Murphy, right? So like they have these restrictions. The Mavs don't have that. Like the only young guy that you can look on the roster and be like, yeah, you definitely want to keep him right now, at least. Maybe Jaden pops, maybe Josh gets his head on straight. But like the only guy that you really look at is Lively. You're just like, yes, this is going to work.
Yeah.
So like maybe they're in a position to give up too many assets and be the team that gets a guy like OG. If it's not OG, maybe it's somebody else. Like going down the list, it's like tough to find those guys because you're right. Like they're very, like they're valued. Absolutely. They're 100% valued in the league. But I do think like that would fix a lot of the issues, even though I'm more of a systemic guy. Like I'm much more of a defensive systemic. You got to figure it out. But like there are signs that you can actually make this work. You just got to be able to, I think you do need to be able to compensate a little bit on the perimeter. What you can't have like Kyrie or Luka gets beat. And so Lively makes a rotation over and then the ball kicks and then the other guy gets beat.
And that's what happens on repeat. Yeah. It's not the helper. It's the what did my high school coach call it? Helping the helper. It's like that second and third rotation that becomes a disaster show. And the way that they made it to the conference finals was they had Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock trading off point of attack defense. And then one of the two of them was basically incredibly at helping. Right. And it made everybody else look a little better. And Kevin Gray says, bring Dodo back home. And like, if you want to see how mad I can get, Kevin, I recommend the Mavericks do that. I just do. Like, if you want to laugh, like tune in for that fucking show. Trading away a first round pick for Kyrie Irving, only to then send away another pick for the guy that you sent for no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Can't do
no,
that.
Well, I don't even know if it's financially feasible, but it's like that's where it goes to show, talking about this team is very, very frustrating because they got lucky in the draft and they which is what they needed. But then you start to see that they will kind of continuously pay for the sins of previous team buildings, like team building issues where Donnie Nelson and Mark Cuban and Haralabov Vulgaris and whatever conglomerate of people made these choices were not on the same page. You and I know, because we've talked to people, one person in particular, it doesn't matter who it is, but we both talked to the same person. In 2019-20, the Dallas Mavericks thought they were at least like a season and a half ahead of everybody else by playing 5-out basketball. Yeah. And then that didn't matter by the end of the year. Yeah. And it's just so frustrating because where the league is right now if you consider the Nugget, like you can't really emulate the Nuggets' success because Jokic is such a unique piece. But if you look at how the Nuggets built, which is skilled size, that's not a thing that's out there. I mean, I was so excited for the Mavericks to get Olivier Maxence Prosper, and because he's huge, but then you watch him play basketball and he attacks closeouts like how do you say his name? Dallism from Street Fighter 2. It's just like, whoa, and it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, but he will get better at that because
sure.
The number one improvement thing for rookies, right, is weak side rotations. I think one of the things that I don't really know is like Grant was very well. Like one of the reasons everyone was like, "Hey, the Mavericks did really well this summer," was not just the draft, but it was also Grant. Like it was getting Seth and it was getting Grant. What is it you think that they're not doing with Grant, or is Grant not doing? Is it just like he's not hitting shots? Is it he's not operating as like a secondary connector? Like, are there ways that they can use him better? What do you think is like the missing piece here for Grant? Because like Grant's got to be more impactful than he is. Like he's just got to be more impactful than 1 of 6 from the field, 1 board, 1 rebound in 26 minutes. You got to get more.
I think they need to use him as the screener more and get him involved in some of those short roll situations. That'd be something I'd like to see. When he's out there kind of standing in the corner a lot. And I don't know, Luka is the one who's calling a lot of these plays. Like that's just the thing. And Luka will go back to the well over and over and over again when a thing is working. I don't really have a lot of feel because it's when you got Luka and Kyrie handling the ball, that's so much of your decision making that's already soaked up. And I don't know. It's tough for me because they don't run a lot. Like so much of their action is pick and roll heavy, which is fine. But what that really ends up meaning is there's at least 2 guys not moving. And that bites you in the ass more than like the tighter the game gets, because it becomes scoutable for me. So I'm not really sure. I also, because I've watched 6 years of like Spain pick and roll. I'm like, is there another offense? Is that a thing that's allowed?
Right. Yeah. I think it's the short roll stuff tonight was really fascinating because the Thunder did it to them all in that first half, and the Mavs could not figure it out. And Luka had he had passes to the weak side that went high out of bounds, and he had passes that got picked off and all these types of things. But usually what teams will do is like they'll show different looks at a guy because they're like, well, we don't want him to get too comfortable. And the Thunder went the other way, and the Thunder were like, nope, we're sending 2 and 3 at you all the time. Don't care that you've seen this all night. We're going to keep doing. And then Luka starts hitting like short roll, cross court, corner kick, like all of these passes to leverage and then punish the defense. And the Thunder just kept running it at him because their gambit was, you're not going to get enough supporting help. Like you're not going to get not enough guy. If we are able to ably defend Lively, and he made it tough on him, he outplayed Chet. But if we're able to make other guys win, especially I think without Kyrie, like we can win that battle. Which is like what's really fascinating about this is just like, okay, so you put that in your pocket and be like, maybe we just only do this one thing versus Luka, even though he sees it. Because like he tore it up with some really great, ingenious passes late in the game that your guy Matt was talking about on the main show. But it's also just like, it's really interesting to see a coach basically say, no, like we are so concerned with you getting downhill and drawing fouls that we're going to force a wall and we're just going to live with it. You don't see that a lot in a regular season. Like, there's a lot about tonight you don't see. Like Luka played the most minutes of any guy in November since 2007. Like all of these things, like this was an exceptional environment and game. And it felt like both teams were, even with the Mavs being shorthanded, most teams were really invested in winning. And so like the outcomes of it, even though you're right, you can't take much away because of the Mavs were missing guys and it's just like another game and it's a crazy sequence with 30-0. But it was like, there's a lot of interesting stuff I think to come out of it for down the line, I think. Are you muted? You're muted.
Hey, you're telling me on my own show this. Awesome. This was the first game in a long time that I'd felt because Luka, obviously, I'm pretty sure that just due to like and we don't have access to the same kind of tracking data because the NBA is doing this new stuff this year. But last year, Luka was in like the top 3 guys who saw double teams in games.
Yeah.
And so it's not like new, but I will say that this was the first extended stretch that I can remember in some time where it was like, oh, this is what it can look like when you have teammates that know how to do stuff.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
Dwight Powell's been fine, but it's like, when he's the short roll man, he's gonna pass the ball. Like he's not going to go attack the rim like Lively. So to see him do something like that was particularly interesting. I will it's got to be said out loud. Like the Mavericks got a pretty great whistle tonight. And that is, they shot a ton of free throws. They left enough out on the court. They shot 35 free throws and they missed 12. Right. And when you lose a game by 6, that hurts. They also gave the Thunder also had Davis Bertans shooting 6 free throws. That will tell you how many free throws they actually shot. It's just that, I mean, the Mavericks have pieces of something, but I don't have enough confidence in right now in knowing what's going to happen, because I mentioned this to you yesterday, and Brian Damaris talked about it after the show. The Mavericks play, I think, 14 games in the next 23 days. Yeah. And that sucks.
The Nuggets had like 11 in 15, I think. Like they either had to jam teams before the IST or after. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the schedule looks like, is everybody's jammed before or after the IST, and then it evens out after January 1st.
Dallas gets a little lucky in some of who they're playing. Like after the in-season tournament, they play Portland and Utah in those 2 games that they get, which are both, I will say, winnable games is how I will phrase it. I don't want to say they will always win, because of Luka often plays down to these garbage teams. That's one of the things they've actually done this year is play well, with the exception of the Memphis game yesterday, which was just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Shout out to David Roddy, always having the best game of his career against the Dallas Mavericks. All right, I got 3 more people, and I can tell my wife's already mad at me. What else you want to fire off before?
Nope. I'm good, man. Get to the rest of your people. Have a good one.
Guys, this is Matt Moore. He's over at the Action Network. Now I'm getting joined. I clicked Harris's name too quickly. Harris, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Hey, Kirk. I'm good. How are you?
I am whipped, but I'm that'll happen.
Yeah. So I heard you and Matt talking about the big wing we need, and OG is obviously like the perfect fit. But I'm thinking a guy that is gettable and probably wouldn't cost too much is Jeremy Grant. He's not as switchable as OG is, but the weak side protection, he can shot blocker, he can be a small 5 when we want to get, and that lets Grant play like the small 4 instead of being the small 5 where he's too small to play, even if he's strong. And then even if you're trading someone like Tim, Jeremy Grant takes enough high volume 3-point shots, and he's good enough to do that, like percentage wise, that it wouldn't hurt you too much. And even though he's not like he's more of a play finisher, then he doesn't need the ball in his hands like Luka or Kyrie does, but you can also kind of like let him cook when he's just hit him or Kyrie or Luka on the field. So I don't know if the defense is going to be like amazing, but like if you put him and like Derek Jones as the 2 starters next to Luka, Kyrie, and Lively, I think that's like solid enough.
Getting to 30-ish million though to trade for him is tough. He makes 5-year, $160 million contract.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it'll be like Rashawn Holmes and Tim, or you probably have
That's
to. That's
true. I forget Rashawn exists, which I shouldn't, because he's a second string center now.
But I'm like thinking like how? What do you think his value is? Like, is it 1 pick and asset, or less than that, or? It can't be that much with the
Grant. I don't think Grant's can be that high, because Grant is, he's very clearly respect to him on this. He's very clearly chased some money his past 2 deals, and like the Mavericks, I think were interested in him at one point in time, and he chased the biggest contract available. So I'm not sure. That Portland situation is really bleak, and it's like, is he happy? Is he happy up there just getting the shots that he's getting, and that's all? I mean, I earnestly have no idea on that one. I wouldn't want to give up a pick, because I think you give up a pick, then I sort of want to eat. I almost don't want Dallas to give up a pick, period, because I want them to get as many assets they can have going into like next year. And I think, they're playing well enough now to where I think, unless like the world explodes, they're going to have to send New York their pick this in the 2024 season. So then that opens up more possibilities. And that's where my head is.
Would you give away like any of the young guys? Like what if you gave Omax and Hardy? And
yes.
Then, like, salary for
all of them. Go away. Anyone but Lively.
that's like what I'm thinking. Like, because you could probably get away with not giving up too much with him, and maybe like a pick swap instead of an actual pick, like in a young guy, and then still have stuff to trade next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
That's
I think
Ryan.
he's probably like the only target that's like viable for us. I think
That's an interesting. Yeah, and I'm regretfully going to have to ask Dalton Trigg about this, and then I'm sure Dalton, our man over at DallasBasketball.com, will then write 30 trade articles about about him over the next several months, because it's just the trade market stuff is so difficult, because I don't think you can realistically start thinking about it until like the end of December, because guys don't really they don't become available to trade until like December 15th.
Yeah.
And then it's like a grieving process where you like teams and everybody needs to like come in and figure this out on the and basically try to figure out it together. And it just takes them a while to get there. So
yeah.
Well, Harris, thanks so much. You got anything else for us?
No. I mean, was at the game. It was really annoying for most of it. Yeah.
I'm painful and but that looked like a heck of a crowd, man.
It was pretty. It was slow at the beginning, but I mean, whenever they make their runs, like it was so exciting. Yeah, like it felt weird because like at the beginning of the game and like the third quarter, when we had all our starters in, we were playing well. It's just as soon as you threw one bench guy in, when we're so depleted in the bench, like it's like, oh, we're screwed. Like we can't.
The Hardy thing is so tough because it's just. I feel like the guy tries hard. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Do you think?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like people who like him love him, but he doesn't have the quickness to do anything of note. Now, last year I thought they put him in a real position to succeed, where he is catching the ball on drive, like catching the ball so he can make quick decisions.
Yeah.
They're letting him play make, and he made some nice passes tonight, I thought, but like, is that really what he's going to be doing? Like, if you can't get past somebody enough to score on this team, I'm not really sure you should be dribbling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad for the guy because he's not done anything wrong. He's improved. It's just not enough.
But his shot's gone away too. Like he was like a 40% 3-point shooter and like an 80% free throw shooter. He's
free throws,
and he's like 60% free throw shooter now. It's like, if you can't at least like if his shot's not falling, he won't like get anyone to get past too because they're not going to be close enough for him.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. What a great time! I'm jealous you went to the game. That's a pretty good way to spend a Saturday night.
Yeah.
All right, man. All right. Thanks so much. Talk soon.
Later.
Do. All right. Coming up next does that say Aslan? Am I speaking with the? How are we doing?
Yeah. How you doing, Kirk?
I am
Everything
great.
all right?
Thank you. I'm a little sleepy because it's 1 a.m, but I'll be all right. I've not gotten much sleep the past month anyway. So what's going on? How are you?
I'm fine. I actually pulled an all-nighter. It's 8 a.m. right now. I'm from Turkey, an exchange student in Italy. So
wow,
it's been a fun night. Yeah.
Did you catch the game?
I actually I didn't because we went to a house party, and then when we returned, we had deep conversations, which I was the third wheel, of course. But I mean. I saw the Nakai's Duncan tweet, like a 13-0 run, and I was shocked and opened the game like in the middle of the party, and then I saw like the last minute, and I was shocked. Like we were up like 120 to 116, and then like an absolute disgrace, I think, in my opinion. Like 10-0.
Oklahoma forgot to play basketball for like 15 minutes. And then they figured out how to play basketball again, and the Mavericks lost. It was really painful.
I mean, I tuned into the game just for see that that disaster. It was shocking, and I'm actually a Clippers fan, but I'm also a huge Luka fan. So I missed the Paul George game winner, and then I saw this one live. And it has been disappointing actually from the basketball standpoint.
Yeah, so, that's an accurate description.
Yeah. I have a question. We actually had some spaces. It was in Turkey. We were discussing about the MVP conversation, and What do you think about? I said on one space, I had a hot take. What do you think about Tyrese's personnel, like the team around him being better than Dallas's?
You're talking Halliburton up in Indiana.
Yeah, I think it's like the team around him. I think suits Luka more than the team right now. I think like having Buddy Hield instead of Hardaway, like as a flamethrower or like. Yeah.
I mean, Buddy Hield is gonna everyone's gonna miss him when he's gone because I don't think people understand just how incredible a shooter he really is. But yeah, that's one. I mean, they have more athleticism with guys that like going at the rim than the Mavericks do. And I think that can really play into elements of what Luka likes to do when he's in the fast break. But I mean, there's got to be something to the fact that the Mavs have played this way for 5+ years where guys are in the corners shooting threes. And I think that Luka has a say in that. I do sort of wish, and I think it'll happen eventually, I hope it'll happen, that the Mavericks will get more guys like Derek Jones Jr. who are willing to go at the rim from the corners and the wings, because that helps a lot more. Who's the guy that Indiana traded for from the New York Knicks?
Obi Toppin.
Like Obi Toppin and Luka would have so much fun, and he's having a great
that's
time.
That's what I imagined about. Yeah,
yeah. So I like the take, but I'm curious. See, there's a reason the Dallas Mavericks Haralabos Voulgaris swears in his life the Mavericks tried to sell the house to go get Tyrese Halliburton. He wanted to pair Halliburton and Luka together.
Oh my God! Well,
yeah,
interesting.
I know.
Yeah.
So, what a what if situation.
Yeah, I mean, they told me like we have Kyrie, but I think like when you compare the rest of the team, like Obi Toppin versus Derek Jones and like Buddy Hield instead of like the whoever starting at the small forward position, or like Miles Turner versus Derek Lively, like and the bench. I'm confident in my take, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like it. It's a good take.
I mean, because like they were putting Tyrese over Luka in the MVP conversation, I was like, they are like 7th or like they're 9 and 8. So I mean, it's I was shocked, but I'm a Luka fan, so a bit bias is there also. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you joined though. This is fun. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm a long time lurker. Yeah, and actually. I want to congratulate you on your child.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Very kind of you.
I think you told me that like the first child was not me, but to someone else, that the first child was a bit chaotic, and the second child is more calm, patient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's an understatement. My first child, he's 7 now, and he's just a tornado to this day, and was from the moment he was born. This one is low-key.
Yeah, actually, like my mom always used to tell me, because me and my brother is like the other way around, and like she actually, my mother, some nights she thought she was scared as hell that I was dead because I was sleeping so deep, like, and I was her first child.
I need that. I need that problem. I need that problem in my life. Man, thank you so much for joining. I hope you're not too tired for the rest of your day.
No, I mean, I will go to the gym now, I think, because I can't sleep after now.
That helps a lot. The New York Times, I read, this is, who cares? It's 1 a.m. I read the story in the New York Times about how regular exercise really helps with if you're a person who has normal sleep deficits. And I've been pretty good for the last 2 years about doing that. And I've like I said, I haven't slept in a month and I haven't gone in crazy yet. So, and it's largely, I think the gym stuff helps. So that's a good idea. All right, man. You have a good day. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, well, see you later.
Oh, sorry. Punted Aslan too quick. I brought him up too quick. I brought the other guy up too quick. All right, so coming up next, I got Brian, who don't know if we got a video for Brian. Brian, what's up, man?
Yo, I'm in my car. How's the audio? Because I know it can be weird when I'm on the highway.
No, this is great. This sounds like you're a radio caller, and I'm an actual like sports talk radio person. This is fantastic.
Nice. Okay, cool. First time, long time. How's it
going? What's up, man?
Man, Kirk, I got to tell you, I'm starting to feel like a jinx because I told myself I was not going to put myself through this filth after that last embarrassing display, right? After that basketball terrorist, Kyrie Irving, stole a game check in the Memphis game, right? I said, I'm going to go out and kick it at a barcade with my friends. I'm going to have a good night no matter what. The Mavericks cannot hurt me tonight. And then I watched the first quarter before I leave, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. Luka's playing well at the very least. We're keeping pace. This is cool. Then we get very early into the second, and they get on that tomfoolery again on defense. And OKC runs off like 9 points in a row. And I'm like, all right, time to go to the bar. So that's what I do. I throw my clothes on. I get to the bar. I check my phone an hour into being at the bar, and it is looking like, I think the score is like 79 to 58, something like that. And I'm like, yep, I was right to go outside.
That's right.
And then I look again 25 minutes later, and it says the Mavericks on a 15-0 run. I said, what? And then I check again 10 minutes later, and it says there was a 30-0 run. So I'm like, it feels like between this game and the Lakers game the day before Thanksgiving, they do this when I don't watch or when I find something else to do during the game, when I'm certain that we're going to lose the game. But there are a couple things from this game that I'm going to take with me, even though I didn't necessarily get to watch. Derek Lively beat the shit out of Chet for the second straight time, if you include Summer League. Love that. Great. I hope on all these little Rookie of the Year ladder articles that NBA.com and Zach Lowe and Ryan Windhorst that everybody's writing, I hope that they include that part, that every time they played each other head-to-head, Derek Lively beat the shit out of Chet. I would like for that to be included. The best player on the court tonight was very clear, and it was not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know if Tim Bontemps was watching and noticed this, but I hope he notices this. We didn't win the game, but I'm going to take what I can get, right?
Sure.
Derrick Jones Jr., look, Derrick Jones Jr. is slander feed from me for the rest of his career, because when things get tough, right, when games aren't going well, when we need somebody of our, like among our wing players, to step up, it's usually him. So I'm never going to slander that man again, because between Josh and lately Grant, right, like apparently he's the only one that can play with some shame. And he had 24 tonight. He was awesome. OKC decided they were going to double, triple team Luka. They were going to help off of him every time from the three-point line, and he made them pay. And I was really happy about him being able to do that. AJ Lawson finally got an opportunity tonight, and he played really well. So I was super excited for him. And that just solidified for me. I think I mentioned this and sorry if I'm yelling. I don't know if I'm too loud.
No, this is great. This is best.
Yeah, you can tell I've had it for Bruce. But one thing that's kind of solidified for me, I actually brought this up before the game to some of my friends in like a group DM among like some Mavs Twitter mutuals. I was like, hey man, should Omax and Jaden Hardy have been like in the G League this entire time this year? Because I feel like there's so much that both of them, like they each bring like a competent skill to the regular rotation that when they're on really helps, but when they're off, it's like they just don't look like they belong on an NBA court, and they need more time and more space and more reps to work those things out. And I was bullish on once, because, it's December 1st. We're getting close to December 15th, which is the unofficial, blowing whistle, starting whistle for a trade season. I was like, you know what? I'd finally come around to the idea, all right, Jaden Hardy can't be like this untouchable young asset. If he's got to go to bring in a guy that we like, hell, even a guy that just like shores up a rotational weakness just in the short term.
Dude, we have like 9 rotational weaknesses. Come on. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So, like, whatever we can do to solve any of them, we take it step by step. if he's got to go to make that happen, then he's just got to go, and I've come to terms with that. I'm starting to come to the point with Omax where it's like, I love Omax. I think he's a great dude. I think he's going to be a really good NBA player one day, but he is like a year and a half to 2 years away from being an NBA player, and that's just not the timeline that we're on right now, as long as Kyrie is on this roster. So I've come to the point where I'm like, you know what? If you're not Kyrie, if you're not Luka Doncic, if you're not Derek Lively, and quite frankly, Kyrie, like, just as a quick aside, after that Memphis game, brother, look, you mentioned you tweaked your foot in the first quarter or at the end of the first quarter, which, doesn't really matter much because he played like shit in the first quarter too, right, before he hurt it.
Full game,
Yeah, look, man, you tweaked it. I'm not going to question you because you've been like an NBA player for so long. You know your body better than anybody. If you didn't feel like you were 100%, I get it. But at the same time, you better come out in this next game and ball out because Luka showed you what the fuck it's supposed to look like when a star is in with a bunch of scrubs and he's not supposed to blend in with the scrubs, right? So, Kyrie Irving, you've got to get your shit together, heal up, do whatever you got to do. You know what I'm saying? But the next time you step on that court, it better be buckets or we finna go crazy on Fanspo with you, my boy. Like, you're going to be in this trading machine. I hate to say it, but, like, Luka and Lively and then Kyrie are the only kind of, like, untouchables at this point. Everybody else can go if it gets us what we need, whether that be OG, which unlikely. That dream is kind of dead, but I'm still holding on. Jeremy Grant, which Aslan just mentioned, who I think would be a good addition at this point. Even if we have to send Tim out to get him, we know he's a shot chucker, so he's going to replace Tim's three-point volume, which, that's good. Kyle Kuzma, who I think will be a really good addition to this team, not just because he'll get shots up, but because he's an awesome rebounder for a wing, and that's something we are sorely lacking, right? Whatever it's got to be, all of these guys are available at this point. And I hope that Nico is aware of that because we've got other guys, A.J. Lawson just came in and had a really good game in his first, NBA action in damn near, half a calendar year, right, since he was playing at the end of the season last year. Greg Brown has been tearing it up in the G League. And obviously we're not expecting these guys to come in and be 15-minute a night, 20-minute a night, rotation guys. But if they can come in and they can just give you something for 8 to 10 minutes a game, and you're not getting that from Jayden Hardy and Omac, these guys who you traded back in the drafts to get and, traded away guys that were in your rotation to get picks at the back end of the first round to get. If they're not able to give you that and these other guys can, I'm sorry, you're expendable at this point. And we've just got to kind of be exploring all of those avenues because this team, I was talking about this on Twitter earlier. A lot of people got fooled by that 8-2 run to start the game, start the season, and they got tricked into believing that this team is something that is not. This is not a home court team, right? This is not like a 4 seed, a 3 seed. This is still a lot closer to what we believe early on, like a 7 to 9 seed, hopefully like a 7 seed, maybe a 6 seed. Who knows? The West is looking kind of rocky, and we stacked up some wins early, so maybe that plays in our favor. But yeah, we have a lot to do still with this roster, even as much as we improved it over the summer. But I feel like we have the assets necessary to make some of those moves now and go into the summer, being able to.
Hey man, I'm losing you hard.
Oh no! Wait, hold on.
Hey, you've been talking. Yeah, you're all right. You're all right though, man. Finish. Go ahead and finish up. There, you sound clear.
Okay, good. No, I was pretty much wrapped. I was encouraged by, I can't say saw, but by what I heard happen in this game. And yeah, I've just kind of come to the point where some of these guys that we love and we hold dearly, especially the young guys, we just got to come to terms with the fact that they're going to be available this trade season. And frankly, they're not going to be as valuable as a lot of us would like to believe that they are. And if we're going to get the kinds of players that are actually going to be able to round out some of these issues we have, some to a lot of them are kind of going to have to go. And that's just kind of what it is at this point. But we played really well tonight, even if we didn't get the win. So I'm going to just be excited for that, because coming off that Memphis game, I'll take damn near anything at this point.
I understand, man. I understand. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out.
Thanks for having me, Kirk. Appreciate it.
Drive safe. All right, talk soon. Okay, yeah, love a YouTube caller and on the phone. All right, so we got does that say Hot Pot Casino coming up here in a second? And then we got Krishna. But guys, I gotta read this to you because I'm a shit stirrer and we're an hour into this chat. So SGA made an absolutely brilliant play at the end of the game, taking the ball from Derrick Jones Jr. We all saw it. It was crushing. It was crushing. That was one of the dumbest fucking things I've seen all season. SGA had this to say about the play. Typically in the NBA, with that inbound, you come and you get a down screen, somebody pops up. It's like a script. They just run it. You can tell if they're lackadaisical with it. And they were, and if they were, I was going to try and steal it. That's brutal. That's a brutal indictment on the play. And he's right. But it calls to mind a very famous situation from Draymond Green in 2016. He had this to say about Jason Kidd's Bucks when he read a play and blew up something that allowed them to win a game and basically stole one from the Bucks. He said, Draymond Green said, I already knew what play they were running. They have two plays that they run in situations like that. So needless to say, for as good as the Mavericks out of timeout situations have been, they could stand to be a lot better. All right, coming up next is Hot Pot. Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
What's up? How you feeling, man?
I am okay for 120. Pretty. I still haven't kind of come down from the adrenaline of that 30-point run. That was fun.
Not to be mean, but we allowed y'all to have it. I'm an OKC fan. And
30-0 runs don't happen. I told somebody that. I was like, we're never going to see a 30-0 run again.
Once I saw the spread, I was like, okay, now this makes sense. Because Coach Daggs kept at the top of the key, he kept double teaming Doncic. So I was like, why are you constantly double teaming Doncic? Leaving open wide open threes. Mm-hmm. So it only made sense to me. And then I saw the fact that the players weren't really like when y'all stole the ball toward the end, and I saw Jalen Williams and Shai not really hustling to help get the ball back after, Luka made the shot. I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, but we had to let y'all get those points in, but it was a good game overall.
I mean, I have not sure how much of the show you listened to, but in the previous show and in this one, the Thunder at that point in their kind of rise to contender status where it's next to impossible to dislike anything about the team. Just a team full of fun guys that play real well and almost too many good guys. Like the Dallas Mavericks don't have that problem. And it's just a lot of fun to watch them play. I also am a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander fantasy basketball manager. And I'll tell you, watching that guy's box scores every night is really fun.
Yes, most indeed. And let me say something. I never watched y'all play this year. This is my first game watching y'all. But what I will say is y'all have a defensive issue. Like if y'all could shore up that issue with some of the defense, I feel like you could really help y'all's team out. Like y'all need maybe like a Nerlens Noel person who can change the trajectory of a shot on the inside. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
They have one of the worst. They allow, I think, the third most points per game in the paint in the league night in and night out. And that's because their wing defenders don't exist. Their Mavs were missing 4 rotation guys tonight. Now, none of them were good at defense, so I'm not going to sit here and act like they'd make a difference because this is just going to happen night in and night out most games. What the Mavericks have ended up doing is what the Thunder did to them, which is shoot the hell out of the ball on really good shots. Because, I mean, you saw what happened when they were like the Thunder kind of did what they did to Luka tonight. Luka sees a lot of doubles, but he doesn't see him consistently all game. And so what normally happens is the Mavericks play a pretty, they play spread pick and roll. Luka gets downhill, kicks it out to the corner, ball rotation 3. Not really hard offense, but they got a lot of pretty decent shooters because like one of them ends up being Kyrie Irving every third attempt. And so you get a guy like that who's taking your wide open shots, things are going to go down. But they just don't really have defensive players. The center, Derek Lively, I just can't be more excited about the re-rise
Yes.
of the American big man with Chet Holmgren and Derek Lively. Talk about a class for rookie centers. Good gracious.
I'm surprised, not to interrupt you, but I'm surprised Luka and Lively didn't run a high pick and roll consistently, because it was actually working. Toward the end of the third quarter.
They were doing it enough in the third quarter, letting Lively be the roll man, where he was sort of making decisions. He had one dunk on Chet that I'm just going to be holding on to very tightly, because it was one of the cooler plays that I've seen this year. But it was, the Thunder are a better team on paper, even if both teams are healthy. There's not really a question of that. But this was, I'm glad it was interesting, because the Mavericks have had, if you just go check their schedule, they've had some really ugly losses lately, and I'm like, I didn't want to do another one. So it was a fun way to spend a Saturday night, even though I'm sure on your end as a Thunder fan, it was like, I've been on the Mavericks love giving up runs like that. It's extraordinarily uncomfortable.
It was starting to look like the New Orleans game for us, and it was making me kind of nervous. So, at least we came out with a W, but you guys, I feel like y'all will come on more later, but definitely defensively, I know for sure y'all are kind of lacking there. So we'll see what happens in the future. Yes.
Hey, thanks for waiting, and really appreciate you joining the show.
No problem.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
All right, coming up last but not least is the man, the myth, the legend, Krishna. I almost kicked him from the studio because I pressed the wrong button. Krishna, what's up, dude? I think you're on mute.
Of course, I'm muted. Can you hear me?
That's fine.
What's
up, dude?
That's great. I was worried. I got a new laptop, and for some reason, none of the audio drivers are working. So I was like, you know what? Screw this. I need to come here on for this. Doesn't work, but I'm glad at least it's working. But how are you? Seems like everyone's tired.
Josh Bowe missed the game tonight, and his basic he kind of wanted to know what people think, and it's like, I think realistically we should all be really upset, because this was another awful loss. Only the Mavericks made it fun, as opposed to getting beaten by 20. Instead, what I'm choosing to do is I'm leaning in on the things that were great, like Lively, like Luka going bananas, like Derek Jones Jr. becoming a sharpshooter. Those are the things I'm enjoying. I don't know. I think the Lively stuff is portable over into later games. Luka's going to be Luka. But past that, the Mavericks have a lot of problems, and we got to figure out and granted, this is why you play the games. My sort of end game thing is, how long can they go without being truly exposed?
Yeah, I don't think we've even gotten this far. They've been exposed to this point, right? I think you instantly lose a rotational piece. This team has not put in the effort. You look at yesterday, that was what yesterday was. They didn't have Luka. They got exposed. Kyrie didn't have a good game at all. No denying that. No one else stepped up. And you got exposed by, let's be honest, a really bad Grizzlies team. And, that's called exposing this. And I felt like this way for a little while now. This is less of, obviously this is Luka's, 6th year now. But realistically, this is a roster that Luka should have in his 2nd year when you think about it, where you have a lot of guys that are younger than him. This is, and you've talked about this, paying for the sins of your past for that roster building. And, I get it. We all want to make this trade and do this and do that. And it'll be interesting, right? I'm not gung ho about making a trade, because the history of in-season NBA trades is not a great one. I could be wrong, but obviously I'm personally one to wait a little bit, take some time. I do think Hardy, it's not been good. There's no denying it. I'm not and here's my thing. I'm not ever against trading anybody. I'm just not one to immediately go for the trades, because I don't think it's always the quick solution that we want, because it's felt like that. That's what this team has always done. This team has always gone for the trades, and sometimes it's worked. 2011, obviously getting Tyson, that clearly worked. And a lot of times it hasn't, KP, Harrison Barnes, so et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that all these hypothetical trades people put out are bad and, it's dumb, never do it. I just think I'm a little more hesitant than other people. And that's just my opinion. And of course, again, the beauty of fandom is everyone can have their opinion. So I look at a game like this and I think, you're missing 5 rotation players. I didn't expect this team to win this game. But the thing I took from this game is there was effort. There was effort, and it was something we had not seen at all from this team in games where they had lost in blowouts. I think of the Pelicans game where there was no effort in that game. It felt like Kyrie was the only person doing anything that whole game. And in this game, it felt like, I think Luka was the catalyst, but you saw other guys give effort. I think of the play AJ Lawson, like he strips the ball, or no, it was Luka or AJ. AJ just sprints down the court on the left-hand side and picks it up and then immediately gives it to Luka. And I think it made it a 3-point game.
That was huge.
You're just getting guys give effort, and it's not always going to lead you to the results you want. Obviously tonight shows that, but that's the one, and you've talked about it, it's the one variable you always control. And, there was like the one rebound where Luka, and then I want to say it was Lu Dort, go for it, and it falls down, and you see Seth just like rip it away and hold on to it. Like there was effort tonight down the stretch, and that was something I don't think we had seen from this team when they were getting blown out. And it was commendable. That was the one thing I can commend for this team, is that there was effort down the stretch, and it was something we had not seen. I'm not going to sit here sugarcoat and say this was a win, a great victory. It was a loss. It's still a loss in the loss column, but the things you can take away are that if you play with this effort, even with a depleted roster, when you have your full set of guys, everyone needs to watch this game and say, we need to be able to play like this every single night. Shea, like, he didn't have a good game relative to what he normally has. He had 17 points. He didn't even have 20 points. Like, I mean, we were so mad about the defense, but yes, I agree. Like, yeah, if we got our people back, it's not like the defense would be any better, but I think there was just a lot more effort, and that's something I want to see from this team. And I think, yes, I agree. We all want, I agree. I think Jeremy Grant would be great. I mean, Mikal Bridges would be also a perfect fit. All these players would be perfect fits, but until that happens, or if it happens, I'm not necessarily putting my hopes on that. What I do want to see is I want to see internal improvement. And, you talked about it. I think for me, Omax, he had moments and spurts of just one-on-one defense where I think he's good. I think I agree with you. His closeouts are like not good at all. And he gets a little herky-jerky, but I think part of that is he's just not acclimated to the speed of the game defensively at all. And that takes time. And I think I get it. We look at Luka and we look at the things he does. He does MVP level stuff so often, and we want, and honestly, he deserves a roster that's much better than this. But the sad reality is, like, right now, it's just not that. It's a roster now where, 2 years ago, a kid was saying, oh, this is a young team. This is actually a young team. You had, other than Seth Curry, I don't think you had anyone on the court in the last 5 minutes that were older than Luka. I guess maybe Derek Jones Jr. and Seth Curry. That's it. AJ Lawson is younger than Luka, and Lively is younger than Luka. Like, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird to see that. And I mean, guys talked about AJ. I like AJ a lot. I've seen some of the stuff in the G League.
He can't shoot. Like, he just can't. The fact that he hit threes tonight was pretty amazing, but he's a
streaky 3-point shooter. Like, he has a good shot. It's not consistent. That's the thing. But the thing I've always seen him that he's very consistent at in the G League is he's a great effort guy, which, like, that's kind of expected because, he's a G League player. But he's also a really great fast break player. He's very similar to Derek Jones Jr. in that way, where he's great on the fast break and is actually a pretty, like, electric finisher in that sense. So I don't think he's necessarily going to, like, be in the rotation from this point on, but it's to me positive that you could have at least, like, you got a moment where you felt like, okay, he's at least contributing. And I don't know if that means anything for the future, but it's nice. And I agree with you. Grant Williams has been disappointing, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the same as what Josh is. Like, you just sit him down for a few games. Like, don't start him. Like, start someone else. I don't know how you would do that or what you would do. But that aside, I'm honestly, the one thing I'm very excited about is I'm very happy with Lively's development. Like, it has been sensational up to this point. Like, you could argue up to this point that he's been the best rookie center in this class in terms of contributing to winning. Like, yes, Chet has been phenomenal, but
I think Chet's been better, but I understand what you mean.
He was definitely
it's definitely something amazing that Luka or that Lively has outplayed both Chet and
Wemby.
It's pretty great.
I get that, but I think OKC played well last year, even without Chet. And that's where I would say Chet is like the addition.
He's getting the benefit from that. They're a good team. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I think Lively is elevating this Mavericks floor, whereas Chet is raising their ceiling. That's I think the difference. And that's That's something really special. And, I think it's awesome. And I feel very validated, I guess, in the sense of all this offseason, people were like, why didn't we get Ayton? Why didn't we get Capella? And I don't know, I felt really off about it this offseason, that I think Lively had something to prove. And that I think, we always complain like, oh, like the coach talk or, the player talk, right? Like the media speak.
Right.
And he did that, right? But I feel like he's really followed through with it. And it's cool that, Luka has had positive feelings about it. And I don't know, I get it. It's a loss. It's a tough loss. It's a brutal loss. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But I take a lot more positive from things like effort, which we've just not seen, Kirk. We've literally not seen effort. We have seen this team literally last season. I probably not to the day, but very close, where this team lost a 16-point lead with like 3 minutes left to go to this OKC team. Like, there's just not been this level of effort in any game at all. And it's cool that at least there's something. I'm not saying this is that the Mavericks are going for the championship. This is all in, but
yeah,
you want to see this on a consistent basis, because when you show it once, I want you to show it to me twice, and we'll see. Take it easy. And obviously it's weird, the scheduling now. You're going Wednesday. I think it's at home, right? Home to Utah. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully a little bit healthy, but
they can beat Utah and Portland. And that's where it's like, they have the kind of schedule though. They play 14 in the next 23 days, which pray for me as well.
Yeah.
So that's really where, so they need to stack up some of these wins, because they're just going to have some schedule losses on the calendar.
For sure. And I think part of it is I feel a little bit more confident going into games like this when we're a little bit healthy. Like 5 rotation players is an insane thing. Like, what are the odds that 2 of your rotation players, your superstar and another pretty good, ball handler, are going to have children on essentially the same day? Like, that's a pretty once in a lifetime occurrence. So I'm not super worried, but you just have to wait till Wednesday. But I think I'm just happy. I'm just happy because this could have been a loss where it's like, okay, we lost by 25. I don't know. I guess this guy played well. And I feel like I come out of this going, even if Luka and I think Lively were the standout players, I thought there was still effort from the team, which is something I didn't think I would say tonight at all.
You're the man for hanging out so late. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, thank you, Kirk. I mean, it's super late. Get some rest, and everyone take care.
Oh, yeah. No rest for the wicked. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye. All right. I don't know when the Mavs play again because I haven't looked at the schedule. All I know is that I have to coach a YMCA basketball practice tomorrow, which I will be just making sure that the kids go and grab the ball in the inbounds pass, which was one of the reasons the Mavericks lost tonight's game. Trying to think. Head over to Mavs Moneyball. We'll probably have some stuff written about the 30-point run. Pretty amazing stuff there. Be sure to tell your friends. Join these shows. It's the closest thing we can do to joining the Touch Grass movement, which is spending time talking to real human beings instead of being in front of Twitter or on Reddit and all those sorts of things. I'm Kirk Henderson. This has been a great time over here at Pod Mavericks Group Therapy. Thanks so much for hanging out. We'll talk soon. Go Mavs.